So lately, there hasn't been too many Dota updates. It feels like, I wouldn't say the meta is stale, but I've been trying to figure out new things to do, so I've been watching the pro scene, trying to figure out new item builds that work well in the meta, but are also a lot of fun, and that's why I'm here today, to show you guys 6 new builds that I think are very strong in the meta, but also very fun that you can use in your ranked games, or just pubs to, either win MMR, or just have a good time, because I don't know why you play Dota, but let's get into the video. Also, if you guys want to see a video where I talk about a lot of different goofy builds, like ones that I hardcore theory craft with either my friends or that I've been using for myself a long time that I just think are a blast, like the video. I'll basically, if this video gets a lot of likes and does well, I'll make a video on just whatever it is, top 5, top 10 goofy builds that just will confuse your opponents. In addition, if you like watching any of my content or just learning about Dota in general over on the main gameleap website, I am making pro replay analysis, a ton of them now. I recently just did a Moon Meander. If you don't know who he is, he's a top tier support player right now. A Winter Wyvern replay analysis of him over on the main gameleap website. And I'm going to be doing an absolute ton, and I really mean that, like a ton of just pro replay analysis. Quick, simple, a lot of value. You can just knock them out in 10, 15 minutes and just all of a sudden be able to play a new hero a lot better. So if you're interested in that, check it out. Click the link down below. And now let's get straight into it. So coming in at number 1, we have Winter Wyvern, and I want to preface it with I think Winter Wyvern is one of the best heroes in Dota, hands down. In fact, there's a lot of pros that think this as well. It's one of the top pick supports right now, especially in high MMR pubs, as far as I'm concerned. And the reason is its ultimate, Winter's Curse, is an 80-second cooldown. Now, in the past, this was a bit awkward because if it wasn't a good Wyvern game, you basically couldn't use Curse that effectively. But now, you can hit the person that you curse, right? The person, whoever they are cursed, you can still do damage to them, meaning your Arctic Burn does damage, your Splinter Blast does damage, and your right clicks do damage. And combine that all together with your level 10 60 damage talent, you have one of the strongest heroes in Dota. This hero can be played as an offlaner. I'm not kidding, he can be played as a mid laner, a position 5, a 4. I would say safe lane, but maybe that's stretching a little bit. Regardless, very flexible hero. And now let's get into the item build. So essentially what I'm going to be recommending, this is some sort of a right click Wyvern. You can do this on a position 5. I just recently on the main gameleap website, which you guys should go check out. It's in the description down below. I recently did a replay analysis of Moon Meander, where he played position 5 Wyvern, and he went Mana Boots, Shadowblade, Orchid. I'm not kidding. That was his item build. Mana Boots, Shadowblade, Orchid. It sounds insane, but that's just how much damage this hero does. You don't feel bad going damage items even on a position 5 because you chunk from the backline. He, no joke, solo killed a Skywrath and did half HP to a Lich. It is that good. But the item build I'm going to be recommending is kind of a mix, so I recommend you obviously buy some stats. I think Magic Wand and Clarities are key. Range ups are also fantastic on Wyvern. But moving on, I think treads are relatively important. They give you the mana you want if you are a core. If you're a support, you can go Mana Boots, but basically you want some sort of mana item. And then you want to pair this attack speed with your level 10 talent, which is why you are buying treads. Other items you can buy, as I said, is the Shadowblade. It can do a lot of damage as you can hit them with the bonus damage from it. Right, Medallion is quite good because you can amp all the damage you're taking from all the right clicks, right, especially their teammates as well. Meteor Hammer can be alright as a meme, but let's stick to the right click path for today's video and say Shadowblade, Maelstrom, something like a Medallion, and then Orchid to scale into the late game, as well as a BKB if you feel like they're jumping you, and all of a sudden you're one of the highest DPS heroes in Dota. Next up on the list, we have one of my favorite Dota heroes of all time. I mean, Storm Spirit is a staple of Dota. Like, I just think of some of my favorite moments from watching or playing Dota, and one in particular that comes to mind is Sumail's Storm Spirit. Ever since TI5, I mean, I've just fallen in love with this hero, and I'm just glad that I think it's very good right now. I genuinely believe Storm is one of the best pub stompers in Dota. If you understand the concept of shoving out your lane with remnants, right? Securing as many creeps as possible, and then combining that with the idea that as long as you jungle past the 7-minute mark, you're going to have an obscene amount of farm, considering you're going to get an Ocean Heart or an Arcane Ring or an Ironwood Tree, all items that absolutely destroy on Storm Spirit. And now in terms of item build, obviously you're going to want to go the standard mid items, which is just, the mix of stats, Ironwood Branch, Shared Tango, and etc. But most importantly, we have the early and mid game items, which is Bottle, right? I always recommend Bottle on Storm. I think treads are optimal. I don't think Mana Boots are even relatively good anymore. Even though they do technically build into the Bloodstone, I do not recommend buying them. So bottle, treads, of course, before that you can buy your typical wand and knolls for the laning stage, right? This is just basic mid laning. It's something that is important on Storm as well. And then the great thing right now about Storm is that you can build your Bloodstone from a Kaya, so you just go down the Kaya route every single game. And depending on the match, let's say they have a Juggernaut or a Slark or an AM you want to pick on, you can go Kaya into an Orchid, right? You have a lot of options now. But let's say you just feel like it's an AFK farming game and you have to scale until the late game. Then you can just rush the Bloodstone and have basically infinite mana for farming and fighting. And on top of all this, I just want to mention that I think you should spam clarities on Storm Spirit. It's very important in my opinion, otherwise you're not going to be playing the hero correctly, right? It's basically impossible to play Storm in the style that you want to, which is I'm going to farm every camp possible, push out as many waves as possible, and fight at the same time, because Storm is very good at doing both at the same time. You have to use clarities consistently, and this is key. And now moving on past the typical Bloodstone and Orchid route that you will be going, on top of this you can throw in a BKB. In fact, you can go BKB before the Orchid, you can go Bloodstone into BKB if it's a hard game for Storm Spirit, let's say they have a lot of stuns. Or you can even go something like Bloodstone into Shivas if you think the enemy team has a hero like PL that is going to be an issue and you have to deal with it, you could go Shivas and completely counter that hero. And that's really why I like Storm right now. I think he's generally versatile ever since the buff to the Bloodstone, and his laning stage is pretty solid in 99% of cases. Next up on the list, I want to talk about a very bizarre hero that I think has been good for a while, but a little bit underrated. And sure, it takes a little bit of mechanical skill, but this is Panga Leer mid. Reason being that I think Pango, no matter whether or not he has a bad or a good lane, will just have impact. That's how I see Panga Leer. I'm so confident in this hero as a mid laner that I would say you could first pick it every game, and if you really understand its ability to, disarm people in the laning stage and then essentially win any team fight as long as you have a javelin and are good at using the ulti, you will do well on this hero. That's the thing. In addition, in solo queue, one of the best things I can recommend to gain MMR is to shove more waves, and if there's any hero that is good at shoving waves, it's Panga Leer, right? Panga Leer, in my opinion, is like number 2, maybe behind like Puck. And why I say Puck and Panga Leer is they're very safe when they do it too, right? They can do it very quickly. And therefore, yes, I recommend Pango mid. You can actually dumpster certain matchups if it's a specific melee hero, you can actually disarm them consistently. So much so to the point where they actually just want to kill themselves. And also, you're very good with ganks, right? When you hit level 6, you should call someone over to actually come to the mid lane, gank your lane, and with your ultimate and 1Q, you're gonna kill them. Now, getting into the item build, I recommend that you basically rush a javelin. You can in certain lanes if you have to sustain by a ton of regen, right? Let's say you're against an SF and you know you're gonna get raised to the ends of the earth, you should buy an extra set of tangos, 2 salves, extra mangoes, kind of whatever you need to sustain, because once again, we're trying to get levels here. Main thing to note. But after that, you can basically rush a javelin if the lane is easy. If it's a bit harder, you can buy things like wraith bands, the wand, you can even buy a bottle. This is all good. But I recommend you do eventually get that javelin. It just helps you farm quite a bit faster, and it's obviously your main form of DPS. Moving on from there though, I'm going to recommend something a little bit different. I recommend you buy a wand, as I said. I think it's the best fighting item in Dota, therefore it makes sense on a hero like Pango who wants to fight. You buy treads, yes, treads, and in combination with treads and wand, as well as spamming a lot of clarities, you will have plenty of mana to cast your spells. And then once you pick up your wand and treads, I recommend you go after your javelin into a diffusal. You will do so much right-click damage and have the ability to slow people down to guarantee that you hit your swashbuckle and your ultimate, which is a big deal for Pango. And then finally, to top it all off, you buy Ags. This gives you a nice balance between mana, some tankiness, and when you hit your level 15 spike, which gives you the 2-second jump on Pango Ball, you just have this insane spike that allows you to snowball. Next up, we have a very basic carry, and I want to leave this description as basic as possible, just so I don't confuse anyone. We have Bloodseekers, so I'm sure you guys have been hating all the Slark you've been seeing, even heroes like Treant that are just absolutely annoying to deal with and feel impossible to deal with. Well, I think Bloodseeker is a very good solution because he's a great laner, and Rupture absolutely counters a lot of these meta heroes. And really, as I said, to keep it simple, the build I recommend you going is 2 Wraith Bands, or a Wraith Band and a Wand, plus Treads into Maelstrom and BKB. Of course, you're going to want to have a Quelling Blade thrown into there. This hero, if you are maxing out Bloodseeker at some point, will want to have clarities to use them to farm. But really, the main thing I want to point out is the BKB, the early BKB. This hero is meant to fight. Sure, you can AFK farm on Bloodseeker, it's a thing. Your hero actually can farm quite quickly depending on the item build you go and whether or not your teammates give you attack speed from damaging your opponents. But really, the Maelstrom and BKB build in combination with Treads and these early stats makes you snowball really hard, because when the enemy team has their PL who's trying to farm his second item, you can just go run the enemy team over, considering you've been fighting since minute 8. Now let's go back on the route of a support, but this is a support that basically can be played as a core. And now what is that? Well, that's ET. ET is absolutely nuts. The main thing to consider about ET is there's a couple special techniques to really master this hero, so if you want to play him, I require you, before you play ET, to watch a pro replay and pay attention, right? Pay attention to how they actually get a lot of Astral Spirit damage. But now that you know to watch a Elder Titan replay, the build is very, very simple. I recommend you build Tranquil Boots into Windlace, just so you have a lot of movement speed and you can right-click people if you get a lot of astral damage, and you want to always be in position with TT. Moving on from there though, Wand is once again a great fighting item that allows you to frontline a lot better, and then after the wand, you can either straight rush BKB, yes, I'm not kidding, you can straight rush BKB, or if you don't want to straight rush BKB and you feel like you need some utility, you can literally buy any utility item you want. Some I recommend is Glimmer Cape. I think it's great. The attack speed with ET is absolutely fantastic. I think Force Staff is really, really good as well, to either get in range for Echo Stomps or be able to disengage for Echo Stomps. And then finally Yules, because when you buy Yules, you can actually Yules people into an Echo Stomp, and it's a very convenient combo. And really, this hero is just absolutely insane, so much so that people really underestimate it. The main thing that people underestimate about ET is his talents, and why they're so important is they allow him to become a right-clicker, which is why this BKB is so important. You're like, how do you deal right-click damage when you have Tranquil Boots, Windlace, BKB? Well, the thing is, if you get any sort of levels, you have a 20 movement speed talent or 200 health. I think 20 movement speed is generally a little bit better because it allows you to position so much better and basically save HP. And then at level 15, you have 30 Astral Hero attack damage, which basically means if you get 5 heroes in it, you have an extra 150 damage, which is pretty feasible in team fights. And then finally at level 20, you get 70 attack speed. And with how the games are going, especially in pubs, when they go 35 to 40 minutes on average, at least as far as I'm concerned, you just chunk. You literally chunk. Hit a big Echo Stomp, pop your BKB, and go slap some fools down. Next up on the list is a very meta hero. This is not a crazy build. It's not innovative. I just want to say that I think Omni Knight is one of the best heroes in Dota right now. You pair him with a hero like Odie or SF or Drow or Slark, and they can absolutely pop off. And the reason why I want to put him on here is I think there is a really cool build by Mind Control, at least within the laning stage, that allows you to trade effectively. And what that is 2 Fairy Fires, a Branch, a Ring of Protection, and 6 Tangos. And what this allows you to do is just run at the enemy. You can pick it with some aggressive position 4, or you can solo lane, which I think Nigma does a lot with this Omni Knight, where they just let him solo lane. He goes this heavy trading build, and he runs around and tries to sustain the lane as much as possible. And if there's anything that Omni Knight likes doing, it's sustaining the lane as long as possible. So I really like this build. And then on top of that, I recommend you buy Phase Boots to kite around the fight, as well as have more impact in the fights. And to deal with that meta problem, you buy a Soul Ring, Wand, and Raindrops. Not only do these items make you unbelievably tanky, but they give you the option to have mana as well as fighting opportunities, while Mana Boots are complete garbage because they give you mana, but absolutely 0 fighting capability. And on top of that, I recommend you go Pipe into Vlad's or something of the sort. Obviously, Omni Knight, once again, you can build any item on this hero. Pipe is typically one of the best items in Dota right now, just because it's very cheap, the build-up is fantastic. Hooded Defiance is one of the best mid-game items in the entire game, all while that every single team comp in Dota is going to have some sort of magical damage. Just, there's no all physical damage lineups anymore. And finally, last but certainly not least, we had one of the most obnoxious heroes of Dota for the longest of time. Thank God this hero's been getting nerfed, but frankly, it's still very good, so I want to bring it to you here today. And that is Treant position 4. And the reason why I specify position 4 when this hero is actually perfectly fine as a position 5 if you max out your living armor and your Q. The reason why I like 4 is I think the Meteor Hammer build is just so fantastic. We've seen it from Seb, and I know Seb is an offlaner. I'm just saying that I think this build is great. The Meteor Hammer plus Overgrowth does an insane amount of damage, especially ever since they made it where Overgrowth now actually does damage. If you combine it with the Meteor Hammer as well as your Q, you're going to keep people in place in your Q for an unbelievable amount of time, and it absolutely destroys in team fights. All you have to do is stay in the trees, stay out of vision, cast your spells from out of vision, and you'll destroy the enemy team. And to be clear, I also think before you build the Meteor Hammer, Tranquil Boots are basically a necessity to move around the map. Clarities are also basically a necessity on this hero as you cast a lot of spells. You can buy a Windlace on top of the Tranquil Boots to get around the map. A Stick is nice as well. Raindrops are great as well to help with your mana issues. And then to top it all off, then you can buy your Meteor Hammer. The buildup is quite nice as you can get a Sage's Mask. And of course, a Ring of Protection can never hurt. Thank you guys for watching. And once again, if you enjoyed, like the video, just so I can know should I or should I not make the different or very goofy builds video that I think could be a lot of fun. I just want to hear what you guys have to say in the comment section. And yeah, thanks for watching. Hopefully you enjoyed, and I'll see you in the next one. Are you tired of being hard stuck at your rank? Over at gameleap.com, we have a library of hundreds of guides authored by pro players and coaches covering literally every aspect of Dota. Whether you're looking to master a new hero or role, or just polish up your existing skills, GameLeap is the proven place for competitive gamers to hone their craft and unlock their secret potential. Hit the link on screen right now, to take advantage of our special offer for a 25% discount, guys. 25%, and start your journey today.